So I think it's wonderful that Ken Brown wants to dedicate his life to serving God. But his dedication to a life serving God seems to be completely bereft of community and friendship and family. Like friendship, family, community seemed to play virtually no role in his videos. I know he went on a trip where he was trying to connect with people, so good for you. But overall, in his videos, he doesn't seem to evince any sense of family, any sense of community, any sense of developing a career, any sense of studying with people wiser than himself at a particularly either informal or a formal educational setting. And so when you're just going off on your own, half cocked, pursuing an idea, I'm going to serve God, right? I remember I was like this. I was listening to Dennis Prager, and about age 23, in the summer of 1989, towards the end of 1989, I said, I want to dedicate my life to God. And one day, Dennis Prager called me, and he said, Luke, you've called me many times, because I'd called him on his show. And he said, I thought I'd call you, because I'd also written him letters. And at the time, I was reading The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky, and I've been reading about the Grand Inquisitor. And I told Dennis, I want to dedicate my life to God. I want to dedicate myself to serving the Almighty. And Dennis said, be moderate about it, right? So when you have friends, when you have community, when you have family, when you have these interlocking human connections, they will tend to make you more moderate and more pro-social, and help you to make better decisions than you would if you just went off on your own. Right? When we just go off on our own, serving God as we think best, it usually doesn't work out too well, because serving God can mean absolutely anything, right? Unless you have a community to whom you're accountable, you can go off and do anything. Like Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda thought they were serving God by taking down the Twin Towers. There are plenty of Christian terrorists who thought they were serving God by killing people. So just you and God, I don't trust that. I don't trust people whose morality is based on their own thinking. And you see with the Nick Fuentes and Ken Brown and Richard Spencer that they're so disconnected from other people that they seem to overwhelmingly rely on their own thinking, right? That they're going to be able to think things through, and they're going to find the flaws in their own arguments. And we're just not evolutionarily adapted that way, right? We evolved to think socially. Like, we evolved to be very good at finding the flaws in other people's arguments, so that we'd be less likely to be manipulated by other people. But we're terrible at seeing the flaws in our own arguments. So that's why we need to think socially. That's why we need to be connected. We were born into a tribe. We were born into families, a tribe, a nation, right? And we weren't born to think metaphysical questions, philosophical questions, just all out on our own, right? We need other people challenging us, and often face to face, looking us in the eye, and that way we develop empathy for other people, for their experiences, and we often see the limits and the shortcomings and the failures of our own thinking. And with the Nick Fuentes and the Ken Brown, I'm kind of surprised at how similar they are, and how they both go off kind of half-cocked, completely assured of their own thinking, that they're confident they can spot the flaws in their own thinking, and they're just going to serve God on their own, and they don't need community to mediate anything. They don't need mentors. They don't need priests, ministers, rabbis. They don't need guidance. They can just figure it out on their own, and it's absurd. It leads to the absurd results that we're seeing in the work of Nick Fuentes and Ken Brown and Richard Spencer and other people who don't live life interlocked and immersed with others. If I had $1 for every time Luke Ford quoted Dennis Prager, I would be wealthy. Well, Dennis Prager played a huge role in my life. And one of the things that being connected to Dennis Prager did is it also connected me with a wider Jewish community, and people may come and people may go, but the Jewish community has played a huge role in my life, and unless one is accountable to community, one is very likely to go off in all sorts of bizarre directions, particularly in an individualist society like America today. That you can just start going downhill, and there's no longer any automatic stops. As you become degenerate, as you start morally declining, there are no automatic stops in our society anymore. You can just keep going right into the gutter unless you're immersed in valuable connections with other people, and they will say, hey, you got to cut this out or I can't have anything to do with you.